The whole look that we were going for on this bike was kind of like a mid-60s Grand Prix racer. For what it is, it's very nimble. You know, for being a full-size motorcycle, it feels very light, very nimble, and it handles much like a modern street bike. It's probably the best handling 70s Japanese bike that I've ever ridden. And that's largely due to all the modifications that have been done. Okay, this motorcycle here is a 1976 Suzuki GT500. It's a two-stroke engine, two-cylinder. This bike was taken and customized by a gentleman, good friend of mine, James Chenault. And what he did is he took the bike down to the frame, made numerous modifications. Down here there's modifications to accept GSXR rear sets, which is the foot peg and the brake pedal. And there's a custom bracket behind that rear set. So the frame is modified here. The frame is modified in the tail section. There's a tubular steel structure coming back with a metal plate back here to support the license plate and rear light section and tail section. And the frame is modified in the front up here with some bolt-on accessories to support the fairing assembly and the headlight assembly. And then to top it off, the frame had some other modifications done under the seat pan to accept this type of custom seat that we see here. And then it was all painted silver. From the factory, these frames came black. So the silver kind of makes it pop a little bit. Adds to that little custom look. As far as the bodywork, all the bodywork you see here, the only stock portion of the bodywork are these side panels. This is stock right here. This is the oil tank for the two-stroke oil. It's got oil injection in the motor, so you don't have to mix oil and gas. Gas tank obviously here, oil tank here, and the motor has a little oil pump circulation unit here that takes it from the tank and shoots it into the cylinders right here. So it mixes the oil two-stroke premix for you automatically. So like I was saying, the bodywork is all aftermarket. Tail section is fiberglass. Seat is a custom fiberglass seat pan with custom upholstery. Tank is fiberglass. Front fairing is fiberglass. Front fender is also fiberglass. And most of these accessories in fiberglass came from Omar's Dirt Track. I like dealing with them, very nice people. The paint colors are actually from 62, 63 Plymouth. This red is an early 60s Plymouth color, as well as this off-white is also 62, 63 Plymouth. The front end has been modified. The front forks and the front brake assembly that you see here are off a Suzuki GS1000. The year is 1981. This fork brace that you see on the forks is a period fork brace from that era. That's just basically a device that you hook between the forks, makes them ultra stiff, improves the handling. The rims have been changed to an 18-inch rim, which is actually what these came with on the back stock. These came with a 19 stock, but now it's got two 18-inch rims. It's got Bridgestone Battle Axe tires on there. And this front brake assembly off the GS1000 is much more efficient than the original disc that came on the 1976 GT500. So we got good brakes on this bike. We got good forks on the front. In order to accept the forks, we had to take the triple clamps up here. You got your top triples and your lower triples have been bored out almost 2 millimeters to accept the bigger forks. Down here, below the forks, you'll see there is a steering damper, which is this black tube with the chrome shaft, the billet clamp on the forks, and the steering damper is you'll see that a lot on your modern sport bikes. It just gives the steering some damping effects. As far as the controls in the cockpit on the bike, we've got clip-on handlebars. So the original handlebars have been eliminated, and it's got these racing type clip-on handlebars. It's also got blinkers on the ends of the handlebars to keep it legal, with lens on the rear, lens on the front. These are great little blinkers, give the bike a nice custom look. The gauges are also Suzuki, but the gauges are from a 69 T500, but they have that nice chrome bezel. They have a glass lens as opposed to the later gauges which came on this bike, which are all plastic and look rather cheesy in my opinion. Also this T-brace here, I made this here, and this is to support the fairing. Like I was saying, the fairing is an aftermarket fiberglass piece modeled after a mid-70s Ducati to get that similar kind of look. The engine has been completely overhauled. Cranks were stripped down to complete bare crankcase halves. Transmission was gone through with new bearings. Crankshaft, we got new bearings on the crank, as well as the complete crank and rod assembly was entirely rebuilt professionally. The cylinders are bored 1 millimeter over with new pistons, new rings. And the barrels have been ported by a porting expert, which is in North Carolina, thereabouts where James is located. Used to do a lot of these race bikes back in the day. So the cylinders have been ported with the same specs that they did the old T500 race bikes. And the exhaust you see here is obviously aftermarket. These are reproductions of a Gemco racing expansion chambers, which are very popular pipes back in the day. These are not genuine Gemcos, but they are a reproduction and have that same kind of racy look to them. So as far as the engine, it's a great runner. It makes about 55 horsepower, and it's kind of a gas guzzler. It does not get good mileage, but it is a great kick in the pants and a lot of fun to ride, so I put up with the poor mileage. I'd say it probably gets about, 25, 30 miles per gallon. It's got a small tank, probably about 2-gallon capacity roughly. So got to make sure and fill up, as there is no reserve on the tank, so we fill up quite often when we take this bike out. Moving back here, you'll see the rear suspension units. These shocks right here are ES Endurance Racing shocks. You got the remote reservoir, you got the adjustable spring height, and also the rear brake plate has been ventilated. It's been powder coated with a matte black finish, and then as you can see, it's been drilled all around the brake plate to get air ventilation in there. Underneath the motor, you'll see here and here and here, back here, these 3 motor mounting points have been modified to accept GT750 motor mounts. The GT750 is often known as the Water Buffalo, and in the UK it's known as the Kettle, and that's Suzuki's big inline triple 2-stroke, which is liquid cooled. Very big, popular classic bike. Anyway, that bike came with rubber motor mounts. This bike did not. And from the factory, these would rattle your teeth. These are very, very vibrational motors when they get high up in the RPMs. So what we did is we took the cases and bored out the mounting holes to accept the larger rubber motor mounts. You can see just the edge of it in there. And that allows the engine to be rubber mounted in the frame and kind of smooth out those vibrations you get with the high RPMs.